Okay, so today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be taking a look at markup and markdown problems, which are very similar to percent increase and decrease problems. It's just that we're now talking about specifically prices. So a markup is an increase in the original amount. A markdown is a decrease in the original amount. And there are some examples there. The original price is the starting cost, also sometimes referred to as wholesale. And then the selling price is the price after the markup or markdown is applied. And markup or markdown rates is the percent that the original is increased or decreased. So it's just like what we were doing with percent increase or decrease, right? But you have to know what those what the parts of the formula are talking about. So here, your part is your selling price, your whole is the original. So then we have to kind of see what it's talking about. So before, actually that would be a mistake. The part is not the selling price. The part is going to be, if you can make that change please, the part is going to be the amount of increase or decrease. So just like it was yesterday. All right, so let's take a look at this. Haley is going to buy a new prom dress for her senior prom. It is regularly priced at $252. Today the dress is marked down 30%. I want to know what is the discount. In other words, how much is it being decreased? So here's your original. Here's our percent. So we're looking for the part. So X equals 0.30 times 252. So if I do that, and again, we can show our work here on our calculators. So 0.30 times 252, so that's going to give me $75.60. So that's the discount. Right? You have to understand, the hardest part with the percent is understanding what are the numbers telling me. So in other words, she would save $75.60 off of the price. It isn't telling me what the price is. Right? To do that, I would have to then go through and do another step. All right, so an Xbox 360 normally sells for $299.95. Here's your of. This is your original. Walmart is selling the system at a discount of 10%. There's your percent. First question is, how much are you saving? In other words, what is the amount of decrease? How much are we decreasing it by? So we're looking for X, 0.10 times $299.95, which is going to give me, if I do that, I'm going to get $30. Right? That's your discount. That's how much it's being decreased by. They also are asking me an additional question, what is the sale price? So it's originally $299.95, I'm saving $30. So to figure out my price, I'm going to now have to, my sale price, I'm going to have to subtract those. So this should be, I believe, $269.95. Please double check my math. Okay, so similar to what we were doing yesterday, just in using different words. So Games Unlimited buys a gaming system for $249. It sells the system at a 40% markup. 40% markup. So here's your original, your of. There's our percent. What is the markup? In other words, how much are they adding on to the price? Well, same problems here. So X equals 0.40 times 249. So 0.4 times 249, $99.60. That's the markup. That's how much additional money they're charging. Okay, that's how much additional they're charging. That's not how much the game system is going to sell it to you for. All right, we'll get to that part in a second. So Bobby bought a pack of gum at his local gas station. The gum costs $1.25 and has a sales tax of 8.75%. How much will Bobby spend? Well, I have to do two things. First, I have to know how much sales tax. That's what I have to find first. So here's my of, here's my percent. So X equals 0.0875 times 1.25. Now we're talking money, so when I do this, I'm going to round it to the nearest penny, because money always gets rounded to the nearest penny. So that turns out to be 11 cents. That's your tax. Okay, that's not how much the gum is costing you. The gum is going to cost you to get your sale price. Now we have to add the tax. Taxes get added. So we're going to have our $1.25 plus our 11 cents. So the gum is costing us $1.36. That's your total. All right, number 5, you go to Supercuts and get your hair cut and colored for $95. If you give the hairdresser a 17% tip, what is the tip? So tip is extra money that you pay for good service. You usually give it to people like servers at restaurants, hairstylists, those kinds of things. So here's my percent, here's my of, oops. So we're gonna have X equals 0.17 times 95. Again, it's money, so I'm gonna make sure I'm rounding to the nearest penny, $16.15. That's the tip. That is certainly not how much you owe her or him. So to figure that out, we want to know the total. So it's how much they're charging me plus the extra money I'm putting towards the tip. 9, 10, so $111.15 is our tip. All right, so the idea again, so it's an amount of increase or decrease. How much is it going up or down? How much is the price changing? That's always your part, right? So here it's changing. In this case, it's going up by $16.15. It's going up by 11 cents. It's going down by $75.60. It's going down by $30 and so on. So similar to what we did yesterday. Any questions? As always, bring them to class. Have a good night, guys.